say that every woman has insecurities?
I wouldn't say all women have maybe insecurities, but I would argue to say most do.
Some of the most beautiful women in the world live here, right here in LA. And you wouldn't think they have these insecurities deep within because you just see them, you see literally their highlights of their lives on social media.
Women tend to be judged more harshly or based on the way they look. That's how they're valued, is based off of how they look in the most basic sense.
Yeah.
And then men tend to be valued based off of like the resources they provide.
Yeah, definitely men have insecurities. And I think that I wish there was a place where men could feel more open to talk amongst each other about their insecurities.
Yeah, I think for men, like I said, a lot of guys, every guy wants to have a big dick. So that's going to be something.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Andromeda. Today we have two very special guests. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, but these are two filmmakers who produce an amazing film that I actually watched 2.5 times. I was trying to get to my third time, but you guys came. So if you guys want to introduce yourself, what you guys do, names and all that good stuff, we'll go from there.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having us. My name is Alyssa Amandla, and I am the co-producer of The Body Stories, the publicist, social media director, and I'm also Malik's wife.
Nice. Love it.
And my name is Malik Amandla. I'm the director and producer of The Body Stories.
Love that. Love that. So let's start with the juicy stuff. How did you guys meet? That's the juicy part.
Well, we met in a college, so we've been married for 2 years, but we've been together for almost 10.
Okay.
And we met on campus. She always likes to tell the story, so
yeah.
I'll let her do it.
What's the story? Yeah, give me the juicy version of the story.
It's not super juicy. So I was at CSUN, Rep CSUN, Matadors. And I was standing, we had like a food court situation where they had like multiple food options at the food court.
Yep.
So there was a Panda Express and there was a El Pollo Loco.
Yeah.
He was at Panda, I was at El Pollo Loco. I was wearing this really bomb green dress, I remember. And I saw him looking at me. And then
seen him eyes.
And then I went to class early, which I never do. And he walks past and I was like, hey, you're Panda guy. And he was like, hey, you're El Pollo Loco girl.
That's hilarious.
But then he went into class. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was talking to somebody else outside the class. And he comes back outside the class because he said the professor said the food smelled too good.
Yeah.
So I still don't believe that. I think he came out to talk to me, but it's fine.
That's smooth. That is smooth.
And then the rest is history. He asked for my number, and here we are.
The rest is history. Love that. Okay, so I see you guys actively work together. Obviously, you guys co-produced the film together. Was that planned? Was this? How did that come about? Where you guys are actually working together to produce films and creative work and so forth and so on?
We were actually doing a deep dive in our Facebooks all the way back to 2014, and there's a post where I'm thanking my girlfriend at the time. I'm saying, thank you, Alyssa, for being a producer and publicist on my documentary.
Yeah.
So that was literally a decade ago where she was working on projects with me. We'd only known each other for a few months. And literally every film that I've made since then, she's been a part of.
Wow.
So probably like 10, 12, like just every project, literally. Yeah. So she elevates every project that she's a part of. She makes every single project a part of better. So she's the first person I thought of. I was like, yeah, let's do this together. And she's like, it's gonna be a big commitment. All right, and we're batting 1,000 projects together.
No, that's amazing, right? I think that's the ultimate goal, right? There's couples in that they just two different fields of work. So I think two minds are greater than one, right? And you probably couldn't have done it the way you probably still could have done it, but it wouldn't look the way it looked without her help. So
for sure,
shout out to you on that one. And diving into this latest project, I don't know if that's y'all latest. Is that the latest project, The Body Stories?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, it's so deep. It's deep on a lot of levels. And before I dive into why I think it's deep, if you guys want to give the audience or just give me a background on what inspired it, why did you want to make it, and the process behind that.
For sure. So I've been doing filmmaking and photography for 13 years.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of models, a lot of actors, a lot of actresses. And I've noticed that on their social media, what I see on their social media is like literally just the tip of the iceberg. A lot of times we'll see beautiful models, beautiful actors, and think like, oh, yeah, everything is going well with them. Everything's going good. They look good. Their lives are, we're seeing the highlight reel, so their
100%.
lives look amazing. And then when I'm meeting them in person, I'm seeing like so much more depth beyond what I'm just seeing on their social media. I'm just seeing their work ethic. I'm seeing their insecurities, their vulnerabilities, their power and their strength. And that inspired me to make this documentary, because I'm like, oh, I want the world to be able to see what I get to see when I'm meeting these real human beings and not just meeting their representative on social media.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, and you like the idea of it.
Yeah, I mean, as cuddly and sweet as it sounds, like I didn't initially necessarily want to be a part of the project because I knew that it was going to be a lot.
Yeah.
And it was a lot. Like shooting 33 women across LA County is a lot. But
100%.
as a woman, though, over the years, a lot of people have, because Malik shoots nude photography. He's a photographer and he's a filmmaker. And, you know, sometimes women will be like, how are you comfortable with your husband doing that? But if they actually know my husband and they've been on set with him, they would see like these women feel so vulnerable around him. They feel so comfortable. And I think there's a lot of power in that as a man in this industry, that you can make a woman feel that comfortable.
100%.
And that makes me feel comfortable as his partner, as his spouse. So I think it's an honor. And we've heard a lot of creepy stories. Like, we're in LA.
Facts.
So, you know, that's not always the case for photographers and filmmakers, but people really love working with him, and that's inspiring to me. So
are you typically there on set? Or?
So when we first got together in 2014, like the first 50 sets I was on. I was like, let me see what this is about, right?
Yeah.
But we're 10 years in, and I'm rarely there anymore.
Okay.
I have a level of comfort. He's a professional.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no need.
That's what's up. And 10 years in, I'm sorry, I have to divert just a little bit. How 10 years is a milestone most people never achieve and never will achieve. You know, so what's the key to having a relationship lasting that long? I know there's a lot of bullshit that comes with it, but give me the secret sauce.
Yeah, I'll let her give her perspective too. But for me personally, before I met Alyssa, my longest relationship was 6 months.
Okay.
So I literally just always had a mentality of, okay, one day when I'm successful, then I'll find somebody that's ready to move into the castle with me, and we'll move forward from there. I didn't think I would meet somebody that was willing to be a part of the process of building the castle, be part of the grind, and work our way up together. And I would say that the biggest key for us being together this long is her willingness to build the castle with me, for us to power down as a unit. And the number one thing beyond that is communication. Like we take it to the most extreme of how honest and open we are with each other. Like most people, relationships might be 80, 90% honest.
Yep.
We're like 100%. I want to know everything you think, everything you feel. We have complete trust, and vice versa.
Okay. I love that perspective. Man's perspective. The woman's perspective.
Yeah, it's very similar. I remember early on, he saw us think that we were going to break up when we had an argument, because his longest relationship was 6 months. Yeah. So it was like, are we breaking up? I'm like, no, Malik, we're not breaking up. It's just a dispute. But yeah, I think for me, I never met anyone like Malik. We met my senior year in college, so I had dated mostly a lot of fraternity guys, if I'm being honest. Not a lot of substance there.
Shout out to the news.
Shout out to the dudes, black fraternities. But with him, he was unlike anyone I ever met. He had this work ethic, and you know, he's been saying for the last decade that he's, you know, going to be a great filmmaker, and he's been consistent with that. So for me, it was just very new, very different, and he was very honest to the point where sometimes it hurt my feelings. I remember really early when we were dating, I think I was at his house maybe like 5 days in a row, like to the point I was like packing clothes.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, you can leave, right? And that really hurt my feelings. I was like, oh my God, this guy's such an asshole. Like, why would he say that to me? But, you know, he didn't say like, you can leave, don't come back. But he's like, you know, go home. I'm going to play 2K. I'm going to consume, and I'll see you in a bit. And that kind of thing is just, it was new for me. So I think communication is huge. And it's just like, I noticed early on the kind of man Malik was. And I feel like when you're with a man that has work ethic, that has a grind, either you're going to be supportive or you're not. And I'm just the type of woman where I could rock with ambition and goals. Every woman can't do that, especially nowadays.
Facts. That's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole other podcast for another day. We're not gonna get too off track because this generation is a little crazy. But besides that, let's get back on track with the body stories. Go ahead.
Just real quick. As well, I just want to also mention one more key component.
Yeah.
Because it took me a while to learn this, but also just having a willingness to compromise. A lot of people would say marriage is hard work, and probably for the first 6-7 years of our relationship, I would have looked at them and been like, no, I think as long as you're compatible, it's not going to be that much hard work.
Yeah.
But on the front end of our relationship, she was the one that was sacrificing and compromising so much that it just made it easier for me. But at some point, I'm just seeing, at some point, she's basically showing me how to love. Seeing her, see how devoted she is into loving me, it made me want to reciprocate that even more. So then later into our relationship, I'm like, okay, you know what? We're not always going to do just things I want to do. I need to also be able to sacrifice. I need to compromise too. And sometimes that's doing things you don't want to do, and it takes effort.
Fact.
But I am reciprocating the love that she's showing me. And I think that is also allowing us to continue to move forward with our marriage.
Love that. Let's give a like, a subscribe, a clap for Black love, right? No, seriously, it's like, as crazy as it sounds, Black love is rare, right? We're the least married. We're the most incarcerated, highest in disease, most single mothers. And so to see a success story, at least publicly, it means a lot, and it's very inspirational. Hopefully this message touches somebody. It's touching me. So I want to get back to the body stories, right? So what really caught me off guard was some of the most beautiful women in the world, right, live here, right here in LA. And you wouldn't think they have these insecurities deep within because you just see them, you see literally their highlights of their lives on social media, on Instagram. What was your experience when getting to know these women, seeing that they all have insecurities that they're hiding inside?
Yeah, I would say what led the foundation for me understanding that was all the photo shoots and photography. So sometimes I'll be shooting a woman that would be conventionally beautiful, and we're about to shoot, and I would see her like in the mirror, just keep touching herself up, be like, does this look okay? Oh, how about this? And then constantly looking at her phone, and even after receiving the photos, sometimes, because my style of editing is very, very natural. I don't do a lot of Photoshop or airbrushing. And so sometimes most of them would be happy with the photos, but some of them would be like, oh, I don't like the way it looks. Like I don't like this wrinkle. I don't like this spot right here, or the cellulite. And I'm just like, it's natural. This is the natural. And so it's giving me insight into how many insecurities they have. And so many of it is stuff that only they would notice. Literally, no other human being on the planet may notice some of these things about them. But because they notice it, it has a deep impact on them. So that was something that I noticed even before doing the documentary. And then going through the process of shooting the documentary, I was just more prepared and open for that, just going into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say from my perspective, remember like the first 50 shoots I was with him, and I saw very early on that some of these models, some of the most beautiful women that would make me feel like really insecure if I'm being transparent, but they needed help posing. Like I would be behind the camera behind Malik and showing them how to pose and how to turn their bodies, and they're like, do I look okay? Like, is this okay? And I just saw that, some of them were really insecure. And as women, I think as a woman, we experience, men too, but that would be like another documentary.
That would be a good one.
But yeah, so, you just get to see how insecure these women can be, even though the perception might be that they're immensely beautiful. Like, what problems do you have?
So would you say, from a woman's perspective, would you say that, or do you think, based off what you've seen, that every woman has insecurities? Or do you get to a certain level within where you don't have insecurities?
I don't know. I don't want to speak for all women. I don't want to get canceled.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say all women have maybe insecurities, but I would argue to say most do. I think humans in general that, we always are looking for better and we want to look better, especially, I don't know about, your audience, but I'm in LA.
Facts.
I'm from LA. I'm born and raised out here. So living out here is hard. And as a woman, like I'm a natural woman. I work out. I'm currently doing like 75 hard, like a fitness journey. And But even I've thought about plastic surgery. I would be lying if I said I haven't. I think it's, being in this industry, sometimes it can make you feel very insecure and you're comparing yourself, like on social media. I'm guilty of it, which isn't healthy, which I think that's why this documentary is so powerful, because it's like all these different types of women, different sizes. There were very thin women, very plus size women, but they all had the same issues.
Yeah. Yeah. And so do you feel like when these women get plastic surgery, is it a mask to try to hide something? How do you feel about that, the plastic surgery part? Because you said as well that you thought about plastic surgery, right? So I want to get, like, what's your mindset behind that?
I'm gonna let Alyssa get first, but
Yeah.
just from the insight that I've seen a wide scope. So some of the women that I'll say the biggest takeaway was one of the women that had her breast enlarged. Mm-hmm. She was saying that whatever insecurities that you have before the surgery, you're still going to have before it. So it's important to.
After.
Oh yeah. After the surgery, whatever insecurities you have, you're still going to have, even though you physically changed on the inside, you will still feel the same way. So I do think that it is important to take in mind, to prioritize the mental health journey and prioritize finding the comfort and love within yourself before you start going through physical alterations, because that's how people start having body dysmorphia and getting botched and going through all of these risks that lead to different injuries and sometimes death. And they don't know how far they're going because the way they see themselves is different from how everybody else sees them.
So deep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't say that all people who get plastic surgery is a mask. Mm-hmm. I think that some people, they look at it as like an enhancement, kind of like if you get something added to your car that you just want to make it look even better than what it is. Facts. It's not always insecurity. But I think for me specifically, when I thought about it, it was more from an insecure place. Mm-hmm. So,
wow, this is deep. This is so deep. So let me ask you this: what is like the biggest takeaway you got from the film after the 30 plus women you interview? You put the whole thing together. You rewatched it probably hundreds of times. What would you say is the biggest thing you took away from that?
That's a few things. One of the benefits of shooting in LA is that the 33 women in the documentary are literally from all over the world. Mm-hmm. So we have someone from Kazakhstan and Russia, Asia, like Africa. Like we literally have people from all over the world that move to LA for whatever their passions or their pursuits are.
Yeah.
And we have a wide variety of complexions, heights, ethnicities, cultures, and everybody's journey with their body was so similar, no matter how different their backgrounds were. So that was a big takeaway from me, is that we might see each other as people from completely different worlds, but there are some universal experiences that we are all going through.
Facts.
And another big takeaway for me was that a lot of these experiences that we're all going through are beneath the skin. It's not apparent to everybody. Again, on the surface, it might look like everything is fine. Oh, you're a beautiful woman. You'll be all right. You're good to go. Yeah. You're conventionally pretty. You're the ideal body type. Or even what people go through that are plus size or skinny. You might think that you already understand, I already know what struggles you go through being plus size. You have no idea. You don't know if it's a health condition. You don't know if they work out every day. You don't know if they eat healthy. Yeah. And you don't know like the cumulative effect of the burdens they carry. So you might think like, it might be hard, but you might be thinking from the perspective of it might be challenging from one day. But you might not be thinking that they might have been struggling with that since they were 2 or 3 years old. Wow. And they've been getting called names, and they've been getting bullied since they were 2 or 3 years old. And that might compound some of the challenges they go through. And
that's deep. And the deepest part of that for me is social media, right? When we go on social media and we see this conventionally beautiful woman, and you say, wow, she's so perfect, or she looks so good. And the problem with that was not really a problem, but the perspective of that is the younger generation watching this, right? The Gen Z, I think is what they're called. Yeah. They're watching this, and this is all they know. They only know a world where you're scrolling on social media and it's perfect woman, hypothetically speaking, is edited, so forth and so on. And now they think something's wrong with me, and it gets deeper depression because you're just seeing a whole bunch of perfect people Well, like you said, it's a lot deeper on the inside than what is portrayed on Instagram or TikTok or so forth and so on. So I love how it exposed that side of it. It doesn't matter how you look. It's always, everybody's fighting their own demons on the inside, right? Now, do you think men go through similar things that, I don't know if you ever shot men or you do photo shoots for men and things, but do you think men go through similar things?
Definitely. I think it's to a different extent. So I think in general, in our current society, women tend to be judged more harshly versus or based on the way they look. Like that's how they're valued, is based off of how they look in the most basic sense.
Yeah.
And then men tend to be valued based off of like the resources they provide.
Yeah.
So we tend to not be judged as critically for our bodies or the way we look. Like even Jay-Z has a line, he's like, I'm a billionaire, I'm cute. Like, it doesn't matter what I look like. Look at the resources I've built. Look at my value. Versus women tend to be valued based off of how they look. And there's a lot of billion-dollar industries based upon that. So I do think that men do go through it, but I think that it is more pronounced within women. But for men, it might look a little different. I think men, height seems to be a pretty big thing for us. So, like, seems to be a big difference between 5'11" and 6 feet. Apparently, that's like a 6 or 7 inch difference.
The ongoing meme, yeah, for sure.
But a lot of short guys like really struggle with that because there are a lot of women. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of women, but there seems to be a paradigm out there.
The 6 standard, 6 feet, 6 figures.
Exactly.
Is what every woman seems to what.
And the shame is that a short guy can check off a lot of boxes. He could be attractive and nice and compassionate and ambitious. But if he's a little shorter, then he might automatically be off a lot of women's lists just based off of the height.
Yeah.
I think for men, like I said, a lot of guys, every guy wants to have a big dick. So that's going to be something. Or is it?
You good. He's good.
They want to have, they want to be big and large. And at the end of the day, most guys are going to be the average size because that's what the average is. It's the norm. That's the majority. Yeah. But a lot of guys with porn and stuff are pressured into wanting to be bigger, especially as black men too. I think that we are expected to perform at a certain sexual level, and that's just automatically the perception based off of how we could be over-sexualized in the media. And then I think Asian men might experience the opposite of that, where they may feel the pressure to perform because they're expected to do less in the bedroom. So I'll say those are like two of the biggest ones: height, the size of penis or dick, whatever.
Yeah.
And then just in general. So there's a plus size community and body positivity activism for women when it comes to being plus size.
Yeah.
But we don't really see that for men.
No.
So for men, it's like, man, you better get your ass in the gym.
Yeah.
Like you better put down that cake.
Yeah.
We're not taught to like, love your curves, love yourself. Yeah. So I think that that's something that a lot of men may battle too. Just in terms of how we look, we're only really seeing just all the superheroes, guys that are on steroids, muscles, and that's even though that's really 1% of guys, we're expected to think of that as the standard.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, though, I think it's harder for women just because their value is more linked to how they look.
Wow, man, that was really good. That was really good. I want to get your perspective on it, on men insecurities. Do you feel like men have insecurities, and what have you noticed with men insecurities?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the most insecure people I know are men.
Yeah.
I definitely think men have insecurities. I would agree with my husband for sure, but like we have a friend group that is predominantly, we have like a male friend group that we went out with after the documentary, and they were all excited. And they're like, you need to do one next for men because we have our issues too. So I would agree, but to your comment about, plus size men, I think there's some validity to that, but I would also argue that if you're a plus size man, but you have 6 figures, most women aren't going to care. And I think that is not necessarily the healthiest thing, but I think that's the reality. Like, there's a lot of bigger men, but, I think that it's hard for bigger men maybe who don't have money.
Facts.
Because if you're a bigger man and you have money, you probably still going to get what you want to get. But if you're a bigger man and you don't have money, I think that's when it can be more difficult, which I don't agree with at all. But definitely men have insecurities. And I think that I wish there was a place where men could feel more open to talk amongst each other about their insecurities.
That's very true.
You
That doesn't
know,
happen at all.
I rarely see it happen. You know, I think there's some conversations out there, but just to have like a bro space where they could just be like, man, homie, I'm just not feeling hot today. You know, like I just think that.
But like something like that, your friends will probably bully you to like you said, get in the gym, bro. You know, put down the cake, work out, work on yourself. Because men, I just feel like we're here to protect and provide, and if you can't do that, on to the next, right? And I feel like a lot of that comes with, as a man, right? Even, for example, you said even a bigger guy, hypothetically speaking, if he has money, then he could get what he wants. But to what extent, right? To what extent? Because I feel like if you're not trying to be the best version of yourself as a man, whether that's in your career or mentally, physically, whatever it is, then you're leaving a lot of options on the table, or at least you're not maximizing your potential of what you can attract to yourself. So even as a man with money and you're excelling with finances, you could be doing way better, in my opinion, if you excel physically, mentally, emotionally as well. So it's so much deeper than finances as well. For a man, I think we use that as a coping mechanism. I got money, I'm a millionaire, I'm six figures, when it's so much deeper than that.
No, I would agree, absolutely. And men definitely have their struggles for sure. But I think maybe women are just more open to talking about it.
Yeah.
Which is why maybe we can heal more from it. Which is why I think the documentary was such a great experience for us to see and have these people on these platforms to really open. Because even the women, to be honest, I think they were really shocked by how common their issues were. These women did not know each other. 33 women, they came to the screening, and a lot of them were like, wow, I didn't know that you were going through that. They had no idea how common our issues were.
Yeah.
So
deep. So are y'all gonna do one for men? And this is not about men. This is about the beautiful women out there. But I just gotta throw some love for the fellas out there too, because we need it, and we need attention, and the conversation needs to be had as well. So
yeah, I have a few different ideas for future volumes. So I was thinking, there could be one focusing on men. There could be one focusing on parents, their experiences, how their bodies change, and their connection with their kids. Focusing deeper on athletes, dancers, people from different, like the East Coast, where their experiences be different from the West Coast, going international. So there's definitely a lot of different options and a lot of different avenues it could go.
The sky's the limit.
For sure.
So how long does it take to script, write, shoot, edit a film like that?
Oh, so for the body story specifically, it was spread out. So we would shoot like 1 or 2 every other weekend. It ended up taking about 6 months of shooting and then 2 months of editing. The process can be streamlined if we were doing it full time, like if we had our Monday through Friday available, but we were just shooting like a day here and there. If we could streamline the process, we could probably knock out the whole thing in probably like 4 months, like 3 months of shooting, 1 month of editing, and then be good to go.
For me, editing is the most tedious part. I hate it, man. There's editing, sitting down. And my bad. The idea of I love shooting and recording and doing the fun stuff, but when you got to sit down and just piece it all together, that's the annoying part for me.
No, I hate editing too. But I don't know if you use Adobe.
Yeah, Premiere Pro.
Premiere Pro. Shout out Premiere Pro, sponsored the podcast. But no, I hate editing as well. Yeah. But I have learned to kind of fall in love with the process because you're essentially like the director of the project, right? And it's dope to have that content in your hands, and you can, essentially...
It's your vision.
It's your vision, and it's your baby, and you can kind of like cultivate and grow your baby up the way you want it to. Facts. So I've learned to
I've tried hiring editors, and they did decent jobs, but it's never came out the way that my brain and my vision was. I'm like, you know what? I just got to do this myself. But for you guys, what's next? What's on the horizon besides filming, creating another film? What's next?
Well, my life is very, very much ingrained with filmmaking. Like it's something I take extremely seriously. I'm dedicating my entire life to it. So what's next is always going to be film. Is always going to be in line.
Yes, sir.
And next project coming up will be an anthology series that's going to be like a horror, artsy, psychological type series.
Okay.
So it's interesting that that we're doing promo stuff for the documentary right now, but the documentary is like a tip of the iceberg and the type of films and cinema that I create.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next is just continuing to submit the film to film festivals and then get into some really twisted, dark arts. I think that it's interesting too to talk to real people and see what vulnerable issues that they're going through, and seeing letting that be fueled to create characters that are going through real stuff, and letting that add depth to the character so that they're not just a caricature, and we can actually have substance in the horror and art that we create. And
I get what you're saying.
a couple years later down the line, we have our first kid.
Oh, no, so y'all not thinking about kids yet?
Yeah, we're thinking probably in the next like 3 years or 3-ish years about that time. But yeah, we just want to be pragmatic and just plan it out well. We don't want the kid to come into our lives and be a burden. We want it to be a blessing.
100%.
So we just want to make sure that we are responsible and prepared before we take that next leap. But we're looking forward to it.
I love that response, bro.
Yeah, and I said I always wanted to be like a wife and like a partner before I'm a mom.
Yeah.
Like I want to take my time and get used to be called wife for a while before I hear mommy.
And no, that's beautiful to hear, because most people, let me not say most people, hypothetically speaking, statistic wise, within the Black community, it's literally the most single mothers of all races. So it's a lot of mommy and not wifey. So to, like I once said earlier, to take the opposite approach, that's deep.
Thank you.
That's really deep. It is. It's really deep. Just looking at the numbers, I was gonna do an episode on the Black family, right, where I dove into the numbers, the highest in disease, highest in hypertension, most single mothers, most incarcerated, so forth and so on. But I just never got to it. So to see an outlier, you guys are outliers on the podcast is dope in itself. But we're approaching the 30-minute mark here, and a little past 30 minutes now. So what final words would you guys want to leave for the audience about the film, what's coming next, all that other good stuff?
Yeah.
Plug your socials as well.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm co-producer, filmmaker, but I also am like really into my fitness journey right now. I'm literally doing 75 Hard. Have you heard of that?
I have. Is it? Tell me more about it.
75 Hard. It's essentially 75 days. It's 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes. One has to be outside. 10 pages of a nonfiction book, gallon of water a day, no alcohol, no edibles. No cheat meals, like a diet of your choice.
Yeah.
And I'm on day 22. So I say all that to say my Instagram is Fitless Lifestyle, because I'm really just about, just taking care of my body. And what that means is just like, for me, I'm not trying to look like a certain kind of way, but I really just want to see what my potential is in my body naturally. So that really ties into the body stories as well.
Yep.
And to the audience, I just want to say, to the women out there and the men, but if you guys are dealing with any type of insecurity about your body, you're definitely not alone. Like, we've all been there. And I just would encourage you to journal, to practice self-love, and just love on your body a little bit. Like, literally touch your body and thank it, because it's your vessel. And I think sometimes we can get really hard on ourselves, but I think it's important to remember, like, this is your body. It's your only body. So, like, do what you can and love it and cherish it through the process. Okay. Because I think through my fitness journey, a lot of times sometimes I'm thinking about, like, where I want to be, but I think it's important to love where I'm at. So, yeah.
We forget that sometimes as humans. It's always, what's the next goal? What's the next step? What's the future? What's happening tomorrow? But right now, the present is a gift. That's what we call it, the present, right?
Yes. So, didn't Kanye say that?
Somebody said that.
Yeah, I think Alyssa put that very well, that ultimately a lot of times we get fixated on the destination. And even if you're not happy with where your body is right now or where you are in your life right now, I think it is important to embrace the journey. I even saw an interview with Kobe.
R.I.P.
I know.
R.I.P. to the GOAT.
And they were asking him, which one do you relate more to? Do you love winning or do you hate losing? And he said neither. He just he's not result oriented. He doesn't fixate on the results. He just focuses on the progress.
Process.
The process, exactly. He just focuses on the process, on getting his shots in every day, working on his body, eating healthy. And I think that's just really important to just focus on the day-to-day, focus on the process, focus on the grind. Don't worry about the results, because the results will come from the daily deposits you put in.
Your socials.
And my Instagram is Malik Productions, MALIK Productions. And we are just two people that are constantly working, constantly grinding, constantly putting out art that is entertaining, but also has substance. So follow us on our journey.
For sure. I'm definitely going to plug the film in the description below and all that, plug our socials and all that good stuff. But man, this was a phenomenal episode. Quick, straight to the point, but a lot of gems and value dropped. If y'all liked it, leave a like, give us a subscribe. Andromeda is tuning out. Peace.